People hear the words letting go and almost immediately think about breakups. But some of the deepest grief you'll ever experience has nothing to do with romance. Sometimes you have to let go of a person who's still alive. Sometimes you have to let go of someone who's died. Sometimes it's a career, or a friendship, or a dream, or a version of yourself, or the life you thought you'd have. And here's what I want you to know: the psychology behind all of those experiences is surprisingly similar because grief isn't really about what you've lost, it's about what your brain has to relearn. Today, I want to talk about that. Not just heartbreak, but all the ways that we all grieve. And understanding how grief, real, messy, complicated grief, might actually change how you move through loss. My name is Jen, and welcome to the With Jen podcast. This is a space for people who think deeply, feel intensely, and are trying to figure out how to live a life that actually fits them. And if you're here listening to this episode right now, something tells me you're here because you're grieving something, or you're trying to understand someone who is. And if someone in your life is grieving right now, send them this episode. It will do them some good. I also want to dedicate this episode to my grandfather, whom I lost recently and who showed me what unconditional love is like. He made me reconsider things in grief a lot. Thanks for everything, Gramps. I miss you. So let's go there together. Let me start here. When we think about grief, we think about one thing, but that's not how it works. When you lose someone you loved or anything that held meaning for you, you're actually losing so much more than that one thing. For example, a relationship. You don't just lose a person, you lose all the next things, like the future you imagine together, the routines, the way you saw yourself in that relationship, your shared friends, your daily rituals. Or another example, your job. You don't just lose the income, you lose your identity, like who you were at work, your colleagues who might have been your friends, your financial security, your structure, the getting up every day at this and this time, your daily rhythm, maybe your future plans that you had for that job. Or another example, like mine, someone dies. You don't just lose them. You lose the relationship that you had with that person, the role they played in your family or friend circle, all the traditions that you had, the feeling that they exist somewhere in the world, and future moments that you'll never have. So, if you feel like your grief is bigger than it was just a relationship or a job or a friendship, you're right. It is bigger. Because every loss is layered. You rarely grieve just one thing. Something interesting happens in your nervous system. Your brain has gotten used to how it felt to be in that situation, even if that situation was bad, even if that situation hurt, and your brain knew it. And your nervous system knew how to function inside of it all. Let's take this one, for example, a toxic relationship. You know it's bad for you, but you know the pattern. You know how to adjust yourself. You know the rhythm of fighting and make it up. And strangely enough, that feels safer than the unknown of being alone. Or a stressful job. You hate it, and you've complained about it to everyone you know, and everyone is telling you to leave it. But you know what you have to do. You know how to survive it. You've built routines to cope. And then you're gone. And suddenly, nothing else feels familiar. This is called familiarity equals safety in psychology. Your nervous system has learned how to function in that environment, and peace feels unfamiliar. That's why letting go is sometimes harder than saying. And I've had this with friendships mostly. Once upon a time, a little story time here, I had a friend and we were friends for a long, long time. Although I thought we were friends. And it became kind of toxic. I got a new house and I got a new job and all that stuff. And I was doing pretty well for myself. I went back to university. And my house and my job and my university were all like suffering under the circumstances of our friendship because we always had to hang out at our house. It was always the means that I brought in under which we got to do things. At some point, I had my successful web shop, and she was like, "Oh, if you give me stuff for free and people ask where, I got that stuff from, I will tell them it's your web shop," things like that. So the things became quite toxic. And at some point, I got into a highly toxic and negative relationship, and she kind of ignored me. Although I told her, like, "Hey, dude, I need you. I need our friendship. I need this thing." But yeah. So, anywho, I know this is kind of vague and I'm trying to get to a point. At some point, we were talking about this vacation thing, and I already went a couple of times, and all of the times she didn't have money or means or whatever. And at some point, she had all that. And I said, "Well, I can't go because I just started my master's degree. So I'm not going to go. I really want to do cum laude on my master's. And for me, these 2 years right now are way more precious than this little vacation that I already asked you for like 20 times. And I went by myself. And, I'm not scared of the unknown. So I do go. I tend to go by myself on these things." And then she got really mad. And she blocked me and deleted me and whatnot. And that was so hard. I was grieving that friendship, even though we always used my apartment for things. It was a lot of my money that went into it, a lot of my means that went into it. It was so hard to let go of all that because I knew what person I had next to me or behind me or in front of me. And we all go through that in life. And I just want to be here to tell you that that is totally okay. And this is also important because we think attachment is only about people, but that's not what your body attaches to in essence, because you attach to careers and identities and homes, routines, friendships, communities, or dreams and versions of yourself. That's why retirement, for example, that can also be grief. Your whole identity was, "I work here." And now, who are you? That's also why selling a business hurts. That was your creation, your little baby, it was your thing, and you went there every morning, whether it was your home office, your couch, or an actual office, I don't care. You felt meaningful in it. And that's also why moving houses can make you cry. It's not just a house, it's years of memories. It's a place where you felt at home. People don't only attach to people. We surely do. That's a big part of it, but we also attach to meaning all around it. And that's why grief shows up in so many forms that we don't talk about. For example, when I moved from my aunt and uncle's house when I was younger, I cried for, I think, 2 or 3 solid weeks. And it wasn't just that I moved out from my old house. It was the fact that, all my rituals and all these things, I felt like I had to give up. And a couple of times even like 3, 4, 5, 6 months into my new apartment, I felt like running back to my aunt and uncle's house. And even now we still joke like, "Oh, should we start living together again?" And I'm a grown ass woman. I'm 32 right now. No one needs that. I mean, imagine me telling my current partner, "Hey, babe, I'm going to move back into my aunt and uncle's house." That would not be healthy. Unless it's like a big ass house. But, you get the essence. But yeah, I lost all my routines for a little bit. I had to build everything up. All the friendly faces and all the fights and all the stuff that I used to have, I didn't have that anymore. This is all normal. And something physical happens here. After a breakup, you don't just stop texting. Your brain got used to that person being there. After losing a job, your brain still expects you to go to that said office. After someone dies, your brain still expects to hear their voice. This is called your prediction system. Your brain is constantly making predictions about what comes next. For example, tomorrow I'll go to work, or tonight I'll call that person, or I'll see them on Saturday. When those patterns suddenly disappear, your brain keeps looking for them. That's one reason why grief, it just feels so disorienting. Your brain is full of expectations that will never come true again, and it needs time to reset. This isn't an emotional problem, this is a neurological problem. And I don't want to call it a problem per se, it's just literally how the brain works. And again, take time to reset, because I've had this a couple of days ago, even when I wanted to see grandpa for coffee. And I was like, oh yeah, but the guy is not there anymore. I can't go see him. And that's normal. It takes time to reset. It takes time to get used to your new routines, because I used to go see him 2, 3, 4 times a week, mind you. That was a lot. And now that is gone. And my coach told me, Jen, you're going to really get effed in all types of mental places. And she was right. So now I have to relearn all of these systems and I have to find myself a little bit again. And the next one is also very important, because we talk a lot about closure, about that moment when you make peace with what happened. But closure looks different, and sometimes it doesn't exist. If someone dies, there may never be another conversation. There's no explanation, and there's no moment when you talk it through with that person. I mean, I was lucky with my grandpa that we saw it coming and that I got to wake and hold his hand and, make all the jokes that he used to make, but not everyone gets that chance. So I deem myself very lucky. But if you get fired as well, there isn't always a satisfying reason. Sometimes you're just a mismatch, and a mismatch is reason enough to walk away from a place or to get fired by your boss. Here, I said it. It's okay to go through that. Or if someone ghosts you, they might be gone forever. Even though you really like them, even though you thought, oh, we might go on a third, fourth, fifth date, or, we already went on all those dates, and the person just, they walk away. And here's something crucial we learn. Healing sometimes begins when we stop expecting life to give us closure and we start creating that meaning ourselves. Not by waiting for someone to make it right or give us an explanation or come back, but by giving yourself permission to move forward with an open ending. And this is basically the part where I want to take you. You don't stop loving someone because they die. You don't stop loving a dream because it didn't happen. You don't stop loving a place because you left it. Love doesn't disappear. It changes where it lives in your life. And here's something I find incredibly powerful. Sometimes letting go isn't making love disappear. It's allowing love to exist without requiring someone's presence. This works for everything, like your elder who passed away, or your ex-partner, friends, even previous versions of yourself. You can love someone or something without them needing to be in your life anymore. And that changes how you experience grief, because grief stops being, it's over and I stop feeling, and it becomes, I still love you, just differently now. This is also where people don't really talk openly. If you lose someone or something you've built your identity around, you have to reinvent yourself. And that feels scary. Because there are a lot of questions that we wrestle with as human beings, and I'll name a few. Like, who am I now that I'm not their partner? Who am I now that I don't work there anymore? Who am I now that I'm not their caregiver? Who am I now that my children have moved out? And who am I now that I'm retired? These are all identity questions, not relationship questions. And the answer? You have to figure that out for yourself. What I want to say is, it's okay if you feel like you've lost yourself, because you have. And you're going to have to find yourself again. And this is some deep, dark work, which can last for months or sometimes even years. And I want to be gentle here. There's this idea that grief ends somewhere, that one day you're done. But that's not how it works. You can be completely okay until your first Christmas without them, or until their birthday, or until you walk past your old office, and until you hear their favorite song. Grief is not attached to calendars. Grief is attached to meaning. So if you cry months later, that's not because you're not moving forward. That's because you hit a trigger, a memory, something that takes you right back to the moment of loss. And that's normal. That's human. Let me end here. Maybe healing isn't reaching a point where nothing hurts anymore. Maybe healing is reaching a point where love can exist without requiring suffering. That's it. That sentence works for every kind of grief: romantic heartbreak, losing a grandparent, friendships ending, leaving a job, dreams that didn't come true. Healing is when you can love something without being attached to it, when you can miss someone without being lost yourself, when you can say, this hurt and I still love it and I'm moving forward. Thank you so much for listening today. This really meant a lot to me. And I also want to point you towards the Great Minds Project, which we're launching, so you can dive deep into your patterns and into who you actually want to become and how you're going to get there. I just really want us all to become the best version of ourselves. I want us to grant that patience and that love. And it's a 12-week program that will basically change your whole core being by getting closer to who you actually are. And next to that, I'm also, of course, writing my manuscript. Feel free to, get all the updates on my socials. And I thought I'd be done sooner with it, but due to all the waking and grandpa's passing away and everything, it's taking a little bit more time. So to the people who are expecting it and who are looking forward to it, thank you so much for all of your patience. It's coming really soon, but I am being a little bit more tedious, and all the research takes time. I care about you, and go and grieve and have some fun in between. Because for me, I know that's also what my grandpa wanted for me. So, in his words, I care about you and I love you. I will see you later.